2 weeks ago at Iowa, Shane Van Gisbergen finished 30th and everything went wrong. His own stated plan, qualify well, don't do anything stupid, finish 10th to 15th, failed on every single count. So this past weekend at Richmond, he did something about it. And what he did is the part almost nobody is talking about. He entered a second race, on the same day, in a completely different series. The Craftsman Truck Series race at Richmond, in which, as a full-time Cup driver, he was not eligible to score a single championship point. Not one. 250 laps of racing that could earn him absolutely nothing in the standings. He took pole for it, got a pit lane penalty, dropped to 18th, and fought his way back to 4th. And then that night he climbed into his Cup car and ran another 400 laps. Roughly 650 laps around the same 3/4-mile short track in a single day, and half of them for no points whatsoever. Just to learn. And here's the genuinely cruel part. It worked. He executed almost perfectly in the Cup race, and he still ended the night worse off in the championship than when he started. So today, let's break down the strategy nobody's discussing, the drive that salvaged his weekend, and why doing everything right still wasn't enough. Stay with me. Welcome back to Freedom Line News, the channel where we don't just chase the drama, we break down what really happened. If you're new, hit subscribe. This community is growing every week. Let's get into it. Let's start with the truck race, because it tells you everything about how seriously this driver is taking his oval education. Shane Van Gisbergen is a 3-time Supercars champion. He has won races at the highest level of motorsport in his home country, and he has been utterly dominant on road courses in NASCAR. He does not need to prove anything to anyone. And yet there he was on Saturday, in a number 7 Spire Motorsports Silverado, running a Truck Series race that could not improve his championship position by a single point. He qualified on pole for it. Then a pit lane penalty dropped him to 18th, and he spent the rest of the race carving back through the field to finish 4th. And this wasn't a one-off novelty either, it's now a pattern. He's taken Truck Series podiums at Watkins Glen and at North Wilkesboro earlier this season. He is deliberately, repeatedly buying himself extra laps on ovals in whatever machinery he can get into. And think about what that recovery drive actually demonstrated. Bubba, 18th to 4th at a short track after a penalty. That's not just laps accumulated. That's a driver and a team managing strategy, tire wear and traffic, in exactly the conditions that were about to define his Cup race a few hours later. It was, in effect, a full dress rehearsal that also happened to be a real race. So then came the main event, and it did not start well. Van Gisbergen qualified 31st. That qualifying weakness has been the recurring trackhouse problem all season, and it showed up again at exactly the wrong moment. He ran 21st through Stage 1, and 21st again through Stage 2, by which point he was a lap down. And this is where the weekend turned, because his team started making genuinely aggressive calls. During the Stage 2 break, they took the wave around to get back onto the lead lap, and they did it despite being on old tires. That's a gamble. You're trading grip for track position and hoping you can hold on. He restarted Stage 3 running 14th, as the very last car on the lead lap. Then it got worse before it got better. He pitted on lap 251 and lost 2 laps in the process. He got one of them straight back on fresher tires. And then, as the round of green flag stops unfolded, his team rolled the dice again and ran him long, deliberately staying out while others pitted, which brought him back to the tail end of the lead lap. And then came the moment that made the night. On lap 284, Carson Hocevar money shifted from 5th gear into 3rd entering turn 1 and detonated his engine. The caution flew, and Van Gisbergen was, at that precise instant, only moments away from his next scheduled pit stop. Speed Cafe described it perfectly as a massive free kick. He pitted under yellow instead of green, restarted 13th, and threatened to crack the top 10 in the closing stint before settling for 14th, 1 lap down. Now, let's connect this back to what Van Gisbergen himself said he needed. His own formula, stated publicly, was this: don't do anything stupid, accumulate points, and finish somewhere between 10th and 15th. 14th is precisely inside that window. And his radio message immediately after the checkered flag matched it exactly. He told his team it was an awesome job, good pit stops, good strategy, a good points night, and that it's what they need. That's a driver who understands his own situation with complete clarity. He didn't come to Richmond expecting to win. He came to bank a solid result and stay in the fight. And after starting 31st, going a lap down, losing 2 more, and clawing all of it back through aggressive strategy, he got the number he was aiming for. And I do want to be honest about the luck involved, because it was real. Hocevar's engine failure arrived at the single best possible moment for him. Without that caution, 14th probably becomes something considerably worse. But it's also fair to point out that his team put him in position to capitalize. Running long on that cycle is what made the caution valuable rather than irrelevant. Luck helps drivers who've set themselves up to receive it. Which brings us to the genuinely brutal part of this story, and the reason it's worth 10 minutes rather than a headline. Shane Van Gisbergen did everything he set out to do at Richmond. He bought himself extra laps in a race worth nothing to him. He recovered from a terrible starting position. He hit his target finish, and he still went backwards in the championship, because while he was salvaging 14th, Austin Cindric finished 3rd and collected stage points on top of it. That result vaulted Cindric to 15th in the standings, 1 position ahead of Van Gisbergen, so the number 97 now sits 16th. 16th is the final transfer spot into the chase. He is the last man in, with a 50-point cushion over the cut line, and Ryan Preece sitting 50 points behind in 17th. And that is the specific cruelty of racing the bubble. Your fate isn't only in your own hands. You can execute your plan flawlessly and still lose ground, simply because a rival 2 spots below you had the best night of his season. There is no defending against that. Van Gisbergen didn't make a mistake at Richmond. He was arguably one of the more impressive drivers on the track given where he started. It just wasn't enough, because somebody else was better. So the regular season now comes down to 2 races, and Van Gisbergen occupies the most precarious position in the field. Next up is New Hampshire, and there's real reason for optimism there. He was running inside the top 10 on merit at that track last year before getting turned around midway through the race. It's a flat, 1-mile oval that rewards patience and tire management, the exact skills he's been drilling in those Truck Series appearances. And then the finale is Daytona, which is effectively a lottery for the entire field, where anything can happen to anybody. But here's what I keep coming back to. The Truck Series decision tells you something you can't get from a results sheet. A 3-time champion who owes nobody anything chose to spend his Saturday afternoon running 250 laps that could not help him in any measurable way, purely because more laps make him better. That is not a driver coasting on road course wins and hoping the ovals sort themselves out. That's someone treating his weakness as a project. Whether it's enough over the next 2 weekends is genuinely uncertain. 50 points is a real cushion, but not a comfortable one. And Richmond proved that his own performance is only half the equation. But if he does make the chase, the story won't be that he got lucky with a caution at Richmond. It'll be that he spent an entire season quietly refusing to accept being the weak link on ovals, and backed that up by racing for free. So now I want to hear from you. Does running truck races he can't score points in prove how seriously Shane Van Gisbergen is taking his oval development? Or is it a sign of how much ground he still has to make up? And does he hold on to that final chase spot across New Hampshire and Daytona, or does the bubble finally burst? Drop it in the comments, hit like, and subscribe to Freedom Line News, where we cover every NASCAR story with the detail it actually deserves. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.